Sleep that you think is good is not good enough, and I'm gonna tell you why. All right, so a lot of y'all got the Apple Watch, you might have the Whoop, the Garmin, something to check your sleep stats. And a lot of the times you see 8 hours and you see uninterrupted sleep. That's good, but it's not great, and I'm gonna tell you why. So sleep, first of all, needs to be uninterrupted. That's why if you look on Apple, you might see the little orange. That means you're awake. The things that interrupt sleep most, above all, is substances. So whether that's weed, alcohol, those are the standard ones. Obviously, other drugs that are stimulants, those things are going to keep you up, and that's going to interrupt your sleep. And I have to include caffeine on this because apparently people don't realize that the point of caffeine is to keep you awake. So if you having caffeine anytime after 2 or 3 p.m. and you planning on going to sleep before midnight or even a couple hours after midnight, that caffeine is still going to be in your system and it's still going to be stimulating you. So even if you asleep, that architecture, that up and down between the sleep cycles is not going to be as fluid. So the first thing you want to do to have really great sleep is you want to take out these substances. All right? So another substance that you might not consider a substance is sugar. Sugar is terrible for your sleep. You might say to yourself, "Oh, I have great sleep even though I have a piece of cake or some ice cream every night." Even if for my healthy people, y'all having some fruits, that's not terrible, but it's not good for your sleep either. Sugar is a stimulant. It's going to keep you active and awake. It's not going to be the type of sleep that you want. It's going to be disturbed. All right. So, another reason that you want to have undisturbed sleep is so that your mind and your body can rest. So, if you digesting food, and I said sugar, but it can be any type of food. If you're digesting food, you're not going to be able to fully rest. And I can't emphasize this enough. A late dinner, a late meal is going to wreck your sleep. You might get 8 hours, you might get 10 hours. That sleep is not as deep as it possibly could be. So if you look again in these Apple Watch, in these sleep trackers, you should be getting around 4 to 5 hours of deep sleep. That's as ideal as it gets. Some people really get there. I think in today's world, it's a little more challenging to get there. There's more phones. We're going to get to that a little later on. There's more distractions, and people is a little more stressed out. That's another thing we're going to get to that keeps you awake. But you definitely want to get 4 to 5 hours of deep sleep. And if you're not seeing that number, there's a good reason, or there's a good chance that is something such as I mentioned, food, especially sugar, protein, big high protein meals, those will keep you up at night. And take it from me, I like to lift, I like to play sports, so protein is essential. But if it's too late at night, I can't have too much protein. If I'm eating a carnivore or meat heavy diet at the time, I like to cycle through these things. I'm not gonna have steak at night. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't eat steak at night, and I really try to refrain from it if it's not in the morning or afternoon or the early evening. I think, let's say 3 hours or 2 hours to cut it close of cutting off food before sleep is the right number. But I definitely would not want to have red meat like steak, even within 4 hours of going to sleep. All right. And that's because red meat digests a little, it's a little more challenging to digest. And any food at all being digested while you're going to sleep is not ideal. I cannot stress this enough, y'all. So, good sleep is one thing, the hours is another thing. If you get in the hours, that's cool. You might be getting recovery, you might be getting some downtime, some rest, but you're not getting restoration. It's a big difference, all right? So, recovery and restoration is different. Recovery means you bounce back. All right, so every day we do things, whether you lift, you train, you go to work, whatever it is you do, even if you sit around doing nothing, your brain is burning calories, you're using energy. So you need to recover from that. And that's why if you get really bad sleep, we all know what that feels like. You don't feel like yourself, you feel bad. So you need to bounce back from that. That's recovery. All right. So if you want to recover, cool. Do what you got to do. Eat how you want. Don't worry about your habits if you just want to recover. But if you want to restore, if you want all the benefits of good sleep, the testosterone, the hormone pulses, that full deep recovery of your nervous system and your muscles, you need to cut off anything that could distract from that. So far we talked about food and we talked about substances. Those is one and two. The third thing, and this is not really ranked in terms of importance, right, or relevance, because this third thing might be the number one thing that you want to abstain from when it comes to your sleep. All right, so the third thing is going to be your phone or television. A lot of y'all like to watch TV before you go to bed. You say it helps you doze off, right? But it's stimulation. That bright light is keeping you awake. So whether it's the blue light from your phones, from your computer screen, a lot of y'all like to check emails before bed or do something related to work so that you can feel accomplished, so that you can get ahead of the day tomorrow. And I understand that. I've been there. I'm guilty of it as well. I'm not perfect and I'm not speaking from a high horse. I'm speaking from experience. So when it comes to your devices, you really want to have them 2 hours of separation between your sleep and your device usage. So one thing you could do if you really got to use your devices is change your settings to be on the night shift. On Apple, they got that. I'm sure they got something on Android, but you can do the color tint. Look up how to do that. I think I have a couple videos on this to make it grayscale on your phone. You just triple click and now it's grayscale. In the winter, I like to do the infrared. Excuse me. So if you making the blue light on your screens less intense, that's better for your sleep because blue light is absolutely tragic for your sleep. Apparently, blue light and the EMFs, that's a different rabbit hole, but that can be unhealthy for your sleep as well. I mean, for your overall health. But blue light also comes from the sun. So I don't know how much I buy that, but I do know for certain that for your sleep, blue light is tragic. You don't want to have any exposure to that. And a lot of y'all is scrolling at night, videos, stimulation, text messages, you falling asleep with your phone in your hand. I've been there too, but it's a big difference from how I feel now versus how I felt when I was being on my phone stimulated at all times. All right. So y'all really want to keep, especially them big screens right close to your face, bright screens, television is included. Y'all want to keep that, let's say an hour, because you don't want to go full monk mode if you don't really have control over your habits yet. You want to do 1 hour of fasting, screen or digital fasting before bed. All right. So the last thing for at least this video that we're going to talk about for getting good sleep is your temperature. Because I'm going to make a part two. There's a lot of things that go into good sleep. And really, this is great sleep that we're trying to achieve. Restoration. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is temperature. Your temperature is absolutely vital. I really don't even know how to rank the tech, the food and substance usage, and then the temperature, because they all matter a lot. But temperature, man, this one is locked into the mechanism of how you fall asleep. All right. So, first of all, your body, everybody watching this video, every human alive, and it might be some animals too, your core body temperature has to drop by 2 degrees. And that's a lot when it comes to the body. All right. So, your core body temperature, in order for you to fall asleep, has to drop by 2 degrees. So you might experience this when you go from, let's say, the warmth of your living room or from the outside, if it's the summer, you come into your room and it's cold or the window's open or something like that, you got a fan. You will feel that effect of drowsiness kick in because your core temperature is dropping. And now you're going to start associating your temperature drop, that cool, with good sleep or at least falling asleep. All right. So you need to have a drop. And in order to induce that, you want to have your room be cold or at least cool. There's ideal temperatures. I like to have my room cold. So even something like 55 degrees, 60 degrees, that's extreme to many people. Some people like 75 degrees. they run hot or they run cold. Personally, I run hot. So I like to be cold and I like to plunge down into that deep sleep using the cold temperature. All right. So another way you can sort of life hack that temperature situation is you can take a hot shower. Everybody knows a hot shower at night is great. It almost kind of puts you to sleep while you're in there. It can be very relaxing. But one thing to make note of is that you want to keep your shower, again, like other things, if you'll notice, about 1 to 2 hours away from sleep. I keep repeating that 1 to 2 hours because water, like the other things, is a stimulant. And no, it's not like a drug stimulant, say like caffeine or Adderall or something like that. Water stimulates you in your mind and your body just enough to keep you out of optimal deep sleep. All right. So I like to take a hot shower around 2 hours, 3 hours before bed. A hot shower, I like to challenge myself even. And the more you do it, you'll realize, okay, like the heat is not really going to burn me. It's not, don't scald yourself. You want to warm up your arms, your chest. If you're washing your hair at night, go ahead and challenge yourself. The heat is going to dump out a lot of the heat from your body because your body's trying to keep itself cool. It's trying to maintain the temperature that it's at. So if you heat yourself, a lot of that heat is going to dump out from your core temperature, and then it will ensue in a drop. It will result in a drop of your core temperature. All right. So that's one really good trick. And I forgot to mention that after that hot shower, it's okay to come out steaming hot, right? But a really good way to ensure that you get good sleep in a couple hours is lukewarm rinse. After a hot shower, take a lukewarm rinse and see how you feel. You might get tired enough to go to sleep right then and there, and that's totally fine as well. But for most people, including myself, showers wake us up a little bit. So I like to take it 2 to 3 hours before bed. Another thing when it comes to temperature is your window or air conditioner, right? You want to have that to be pretty cold to the point where it's almost a little uncomfortable if you weren't under the covers. So it's that contrast because you want to be warm while you're going to sleep. You want to have a warm bed, warm covers over you with a cold room. Make sure you don't forget that because you're not going to fall asleep if you got a thin sheet and it's cold in a room, right? Because then your core temperature is going to drop, but you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel maybe a little anxious. The cold could act as a stimulant. Again, you don't want too many extremes in these categories. So make sure you got something warm, not too warm. Cotton covers are great when it comes to being on your skin. And you'll notice a common theme with cotton that for clothes, underwear, linens, all of that, cotton is a great, consistent, organic form of covering yourself. All right, so I would recommend that. And I would definitely recommend you get your room cold so that when you wrap up in your covers, you feel all comfortable. You get into deeper sleep. And most importantly, when it comes to deep sleep specifically, you want to be asleep by 10 p.m. And I know for a lot of y'all these days, including myself, it is challenging to be asleep by 10 o'clock. It sounds kind of crazy to some people, and to other people, that's their standard. They don't go to sleep no later than that ever. I can tell you that once you start getting in a routine of being asleep by 10 p.m., you'll quickly, within that day or the days following, and definitely in the weeks following that, you will see the results of what deep sleep does. And why do I say 10 p.m.? It's not a random number. From 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. is when our natural body clock, all right, the circadian rhythm, that's when it releases or it signals to the brain to release hormones such as testosterone, such as growth hormone, luteinizing hormone. You don't even need to know about all those. All you need to know is that from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., that's the office hours of deep sleep. You can't really get deep sleep after that. Sometimes you can, but from 10 to 2 is those prime hours of the hormones. All right, so I really hope this video helped out with y'all in getting good sleep because we sometimes think that the good sleep we getting is great. or the sleep that we getting is good. And sometimes it's none of those. Sometimes it's awful. Sometimes it's just decent. But sleep is totally important. And if you made it to this part of the video, or even if you watch this video, you must know the importance of sleep. So if you want to get great sleep, follow some of these tips, follow my channel, check out my website, downtoearth.red. You can go to welcome.downtoearth.red and you can check out some of the sleep coaching that I do. I have a lot of resources on there to help y'all out with sleep. Most importantly, subscribe to this channel because I'm gonna be coming out with a lot more of this sort of content to communicate with y'all what I've been through, what I've learned when it comes to sleep, because it is that important that I dedicated a lot of my life to it so that I could help out people like y'all that are following this sleep journey. All right, so I really appreciate y'all watching. Hope y'all get some good sleep tonight. Peace.